Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. I hope that spring is off to a really good start for you. I have been in a big spring decluttering mood. I feel like there's something about like the beginning of the year through the spring season that always makes me want to like reorganize and declutter and just clean out my house. So I did start up my makeup declutter series, but I've also been decluttering just like the closets, the cabinets, and it feels really good. I haven't had a ton to declutter this year because we did move last year around this time, so I did declutter a lot then, but honestly, I've just cut back so much on the amount of things that I bring into my house. So I thought it'd be fun to share an updated video on products I no longer buy. I did a video like this a little while ago. I have a couple of videos like this on my channel, but I wanted to share an update and talk about some different categories I no longer buy or products I'm still not buying in the makeup category, skincare, home decor, fashion, lifestyle. I made a really long list to share with you in today's video. So I thought it'd be fun in case you're in the mood to declutter or cut back as well. I would love to know if there are any categories or specific products you no longer buy that you feel really good about. Let us know in the comments below, but let's jump into it. Okay, let's start with this one. So I recently did my foundation declutter, and before decluttering the foundations, I actually wanted to rewear everything in the drawer to see which products I still enjoyed, what formulas looked good on my skin. And as I was doing that, I came to the realization that I'm just not a tinted moisturizer person. I haven't purchased a tinted moisturizer in a while, and I just don't think I plan on purchasing tinted moisturizer moving forward, at least for the foreseeable future. I feel like things can always change because makeup preferences definitely change. But I think when it comes to complexion products, I'm like an all or nothing fan. I love a good foundation, like a medium, even full coverage foundation that stays in place really well throughout the day. When I apply my foundation in the morning, I want it to last all day long. I think the big issue with tinted moisturizers for me personally is that they just don't last on my skin very well. So I'll apply them in the morning and then I'll look in the mirror after like 4 or 5 hours and they're just kind of like moving around, melting off. I look super oily and I just haven't found a formula that works really well for me. And I feel like I've tried a lot of them. I also feel like I just don't love how they look on my skin, to be honest. When I do want more of a light coverage look, I'll just reach for a foundation and maybe mix it with a moisturizer or like a glowy product like the e.l.f. Halo Glow to really sheer it out. Or I'll just go in with a little bit of concealer and spot conceal, and I feel like for me, that's a good way to get light coverage but actually have a base that will last all day long. Another product that I no longer buy would be bronzer drops. I know that the Drunk Elephant bronzer drops have been going viral lately. I know they're pretty much sold out everywhere. I actually tried those a few years ago and I felt like the product was fine, but for me, it's just not a type of product that I incorporate into my routine super regularly. I used to mix them with like my sunscreen and I felt like it was okay, but at the same time, it just always looked a little bit off for me. You know, I'm not really someone who does a lot of self-tanning these days, so I think it does make sense for someone who kind of uses a self-tanner and doesn't apply it to their face, because a bronzer drop can definitely be helpful at like warming up the skin so it matches the rest of your body. I think because my face as a whole tends to be a little bit more red, when I apply those bronzer drops all over my face, it almost feels like my whole face just looks kind of red, like I was out in the sun for too long, but not in a good way. So anyway, I know a lot of people love those products, especially around this time of the year, but I just decided to skip over them. They're not for me personally. They were just kind of going to waste in my collection, and I don't love how they look on the skin, no matter how tempted I might be. Speaking of Drunk Elephant, I no longer buy the Drunk Elephant Cleansing Balm or other expensive alternatives. There are a lot of expensive cleansing balms or cleansing oils or micellar waters even, but I've just found that the options at the drugstore usually are just as great. Not every single brand by any means, but I found so many alternatives that I like that are around like the $10 price point that do such a great job removing makeup and waterproof mascara that I just don't find the need to spend a ton of money on the high-end alternative. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely high-end skincare products I love, but I think if I had to choose between like different categories, which one would I rather splurge on? A cleansing balm is kind of lowest on the list because it only sits on my skin for a few minutes. Everyone has different skincare preferences, different needs, so maybe for you that is an area where you like to splurge. So I would love to know, like, what is the main part of your skincare routine where you typically do buy a little bit more of an expensive product? Or are you like a strictly drugstore skincare fan? Because there are so many good options these days at the drugstore as well. Okay, next category for me is home decor. Now, I will preface this by saying I'm not sitting here saying I'll never buy any new home decor ever again. But for me, I used to be someone who would go to like Target every single weekend and browse through the aisles and pick up something new. For the kitchen, for the living room, I would buy pillows, or I'd buy like a fake plant or a picture frame or just something home decor related. And I felt like every single time the seasons changed, I had to buy like all new home decor to refresh the house. When we moved into our house in the spring, it felt really bare, and I told myself like, oh, I have to decorate this place. I have to get pictures and pillows and things for the walls. And it's been about a year at this point, and we still don't have like a ton of home decor because I guess I've realized I don't necessarily need to cover like every single wall with something. Not every single room has to be fully decorated, and that's okay. I kind of like more blank space. I feel like it almost provides me personally with like more of a calming environment rather than having a ton of stuff, because when that's the case, I feel a little bit stressed out, like there's a lot of clutter. Honestly, it might have something to do with having a toddler, because if we have like anything extra out in the house, like a fake plant or a picture frame on a table, usually it's in his hands, and then a few minutes later it's like on the floor or somewhere where it's not supposed to be. So I think that has definitely helped me cut back on buying just like extra home decor. But again, there's nothing wrong with buying things to decorate your house. That's not what I'm getting at. I just feel like for me personally, I've tried to cut down a lot in the last few years and just be a little bit more intentional when I actually decide to buy something, which is pretty rare these days. So for me, it feels good, and I feel like I've been able to save a lot of money over the years. One thing that I've definitely stopped buying over the past 2 years would be physical books. I love going to the bookstore and just kind of browsing and finding new books and new authors and new genres to fall in love with. But to be honest, I would purchase a book, bring it home, and I would never read it. The only time that I really ever left myself enough time to like sit down and read would be late at night right before bed. And then I would end up reading like literally a page or two and falling asleep, or I would read the same paragraph over and over because my mind just couldn't focus on the book, especially once I became a new mom and like the sleepless nights were super intense. I swear our baby didn't sleep very well for like an entire year. I would fall asleep every single time. So for that reason, I really decided to stop buying physical books because I never got around to actually reading them. That being said, I still love a good book. I love the storytelling aspect. I love learning. There are so many amazing options out there these days, and I've actually made it through like over 30 titles every year for the past few years, thanks to Audible. So I do want to say thank you to Audible for sponsoring this portion of today's video. I absolutely love Audible. I've been a member of Audible since 2018. I just checked, and I have over 160 titles in my library. They have an amazing selection of audiobooks across all genres, whether you're into bestsellers or new releases. They have hundreds of thousands of titles in all different categories. Celebrity memoirs, they have mysteries and thrillers, which I've been starting to get into, also motivation and wellness and business, just to name a few categories, but literally something for everyone. The Audible app makes it super easy to listen no matter what you're doing. For me, I always have my phone with me, so even if I just have a few minutes, I'm listening to Audible. I listen every single morning when I'm getting ready, and every night when I'm washing my face and going to bed. I also listen when I'm editing YouTube videos, when I'm doing something around the house, when I'm going for a walk or driving in the car. Literally anywhere I am, I'm listening to Audible. I recently finished Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. It was so good, just so interesting. Like the second I started listening, I was hooked. I made it through that one in just a few days, and I was sad when it was over because the author is just so heartwarming. She has like this self-deprecating humor, and you instantly fall in love with her. She's really relatable, really funny, but she also shares like these deeply personal life lessons. It's about a therapist and her relationship with her patients, but also her relationship with her own therapist. So she shares like personal insights and life lessons. And like I said, there are a lot of deep, interesting themes within the book, but there's also a lot of humor mixed in. So I absolutely loved it. The storytelling pulled me in right away. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including bestsellers and new releases. But what's really nice is members can also download and stream included titles as well, all you want. So they have audiobooks, they also have Audible originals, there are podcasts, and their new Words and Music series is really cool too. New members can try Audible free for 30 days, which is amazing. So if you haven't tried it out yet, it is definitely worth checking out. You will love it. You can visit audible.com/AndreaM, or text Andrea M to 500 to try Audible free for 30 days. I'll put that information in the description box below as well, and I would love to know if you have a favorite Audible title that I need to check out. So thanks again to Audible for sponsoring today's video. Kind of along the same lines, I no longer buy paper planners or notebooks anymore. I'm someone who used to buy like a ton of paper planners. I love notebooks so much, but I made the switch a few years ago to a digital planner, and that combined with like my online calendar is just more ideal. I'm someone who will switch up my daily plans like the morning of. So I feel like I'm constantly moving things around. And when I had a paper planner, I was just erasing and crossing things out. And I like that I can switch things up really easily with my digital planner. I also like that I don't have to carry my paper planner anywhere, because I feel like I would always forget it at home and then I would need to take a look at it to make plans. And I'm just a big fan of like a digital calendar and a digital planner. My husband and I can kind of like sync them together so we know what's going on, and it has just made my life so much easier. So I do miss having like a pretty planner and pretty notebooks, but you know, it's just for me and my life right now, I feel like digital is the way to go. So I no longer buy those any longer, and I'm sad because when I see a really cute notebook, I want it, but I just don't know what I would use it for. Okay, the next one for me would be full-size perfumes. A few years ago, I got back into perfume. I used to love fragrance, and I had quite a few full-size perfumes, and I felt like they kind of went to waste for me because I wasn't someone who was using perfume a ton. I was kind of sticking with like the same scent over and over, and then when I got back into them a few years ago and I wanted to switch it up, I decided to go with like smaller versions. So I might purchase like a mini set that came with small roller balls, or like a perfume subscription where I got a deluxe size sample. And for me, that was a really great way to switch it up without committing to like multiple expensive bottles of perfume. If I was someone who's stuck with like the same scent or two, then I might feel differently, but I really like switching it up depending on the season, depending on my mood, and it's nice to be able to try different options out there. Let's talk about a few more makeup products. So I no longer buy intensely pigmented glossy lip glosses. Glossy lip glosses, that's redundant. I no longer buy pigmented lip glosses. I love a good lip gloss. It's actually probably my favorite formula these days, but I definitely prefer a sheer lip gloss because I feel like when I'm wearing a really intense, vibrant lip gloss, it ends up getting everywhere. It's on my teeth, it's on my clothes, it's on my face, and I just feel like it's high maintenance, and I'm always having to like check in the mirror and make sure that it's still in place, and when I reapply it, I have to have a mirror and get it like perfectly on. And it's so much work. So if I do want like a bold glossy color, I'll just apply a lipstick and then take a sheer gloss and apply it on top. So I feel like it's kind of easy to create that bold glossy look without having like an actually intensely pigmented gloss. The reason I even thought of that is because Makeup by Mario is coming out with a new lip product that looks so beautiful, and I feel like because it had the Moisture Glow name attached to it, I really wanted to pick it up because I love the Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serums, and those have a little bit of color to them, but they're not quite as intense as this new product looks like it's going to be. And you know, I probably would have purchased it just based on the name alone, and I'm sure I would like the formula, but they all look like very richly pigmented. I need to skip over them because I know in the back of my mind I won't end up wearing them. A few more makeup products. I no longer buy colorful highlighters. First of all, I feel like you can use eyeshadow as highlighters. So if there is a day where I do want kind of like an interesting highlighter, I could go in with an eyeshadow, and I do have a lot of eyeshadows, so that is always an option. But I feel like there was a time where I was buying like soft green highlighters and pale blues because they were really popular, but I never ended up reaching for them. There is one exception. I love a good pink toned highlighter. I think that is so pretty, so underrated. I feel like brands are kind of in like more of a neutral highlighter phase right now, so I haven't been seeing a ton of colorful highlighters around, but that is something that I probably will not purchase moving forward because again, if there is a day where I do want more of a unique option, I can just use an eyeshadow I have on hand. Along the same lines, colorful mascara is something that I no longer purchase. I want to be that person that wears like beautiful, colorful mascara, but it never really looks great on me. I feel like when it comes to color on the eyes, I'd rather stick with like colorful eyeshadow, colorful eyeliner, and black mascara. Whenever I wear like blue mascara or burgundy mascara, it doesn't do anything for me. I feel like it doesn't make my eyes pop in the way that I hope it will. The other issue for me is I only wear it like once a month if I do wear it. So if I purchase the colorful mascara, it's just not getting used before it ends up drying out or going bad. I might have only reached for it a few times. So it feels a little bit wasteful for me to have since I'm not someone who wears use it regularly. And again, I just never love the finished result. I love how it looks on other people. Like, I think blue mascara is so beautiful. Burgundy mascara is gorgeous. It never looks that good on me. I decided to stop buying face and eye palettes. I said this a few years ago, and then I ended up buying some. And I felt like there were some great options out there for a while, but inevitably there are shades in those palettes I don't end up using because maybe the cheek products aren't my ideal shades or the eyeshadows aren't. Whatever the case, I feel like when it comes to those pre-made like face and eye palettes that come with 5 eyeshadows and 2 cheek products, something in the palette doesn't end up looking great on me. They always sound like a good option and they always sound like a good deal because usually the value is high compared to what you're paying. But if you're not actually using all of the products, it really isn't the most ideal option. So, palettes as a whole is something or an area that I've cut back on. I haven't purchased a lot of palettes in 2023. I really don't plan on buying a lot of palettes. I feel like I have a lot of great options, but I'm just someone who kind of tends to reach for single shadows or like smaller quads these days rather than a really large giant eyeshadow palette. I won't say that I'll never buy another eyeshadow palette again because I know that's not the case, but in 2023 I set a limit of 3 for myself, like 3 high-end palettes, and it's April and I haven't even purchased one yet. So hopefully I can stick with that. I just haven't really felt drawn to them, which has been kind of nice. It's been a nice change not to buy so many eyeshadow palettes and just kind of focus on what I have. Let's talk about some clothes and accessories. I no longer buy expensive sunglasses or a lot of sunglasses. Honestly, I don't own a ton of expensive sunglasses, but a few years ago I splurged on like a few different pairs. It was kind of something I was into at the moment, but I honestly either don't wear them because I feel like they're not the most flattering for my face shape, or I lost them. I lost a pair of sunglasses I loved. I actually wore those all the time, anytime we were at the beach. And we were traveling one time and I must have either left them at the hotel or in the rental car. And ever since then, like I just decided I am no longer splurging on sunglasses because I just feel like I got like this sick feeling when I lost them and I couldn't find them anywhere. And they weren't even that expensive, but they weren't a super cheap pair of sunglasses. On top of that, I feel like a lot of the time I can't really tell the difference between really expensive sunglasses and more of like a reasonably priced pair of sunglasses. But because I have a tendency to either misplace them or maybe just not wear them as often as I think I would, it's something I've just decided to cut back on and only replace them if I actually need a new pair. Just in general, I no longer buy clothes that almost fit. Whether they are like one size too small or they're a little bit too big, I've just decided to buy clothes that actually fit well in all areas. My issue with clothes is like sometimes they'll fit you so perfectly in one area, and like if you try on jeans, they look so good in the legs, but they might be a little bit too tight when you sit down. So I've told myself like, it's fine, I'll just wear these when I plan on, not doing a ton of sitting. But then I'll wear them and they're just uncomfortable and I don't like how they feel even though they look so good in one area. Or I might have like a shirt that's a little bit too big and I'll tell myself, well, it's a really cute style. I like the color. I like everything else. And then when I wear it, I just don't feel good in it. So I've decided not to buy clothes that don't fit fully, like even if they're just a little bit too big or a little bit too small, because what happens is they sit in my closet and I never use them. On the other hand, if I find a shirt or I find jeans I love, I'll usually repurchase that in like 3 different colors, because when you find something you love that fits so perfectly that you go back to over and over, it's so nice to have like different colors and options on hand. So that is definitely something I've ended up buying more and not cutting back on. I feel like I could do an entire video on like baby products I no longer buy, or I guess like baby products I regret buying, because there were a lot of them. I feel like as a whole, I just bought too much. I was a first-time mom. I didn't know what I needed, what I would end up using, what I wouldn't. But one area that I've cut back on so much, and I mean, my son's not an infant anymore, so this might have applied more when he was like a tiny baby, would just be like an overabundance of baby clothes. He would end up wearing a lot of the same things over and over. For the first few months, he just lived in like those zip up onesies, and now he's a toddler and he's on the move and he wears different options. But I feel like I I was just excited and I fell into the hype and I bought so many like cute baby outfits. And honestly, like some of them he didn't even get the chance to wear because he grew out of them so quickly. So I feel like in general, I just try not to buy too many baby clothes. And if he ends up needing something, I can easily go to the store and buy something. Like if he needs a pair of jeans, and he kind of went through like a little growth spurt recently, and I feel like all of his pants are a little bit too short on him. So now that I know that, I can go and buy the next size rather than like overbuying ahead of time and not being sure if he'll even get to wear everything before the seasons change. Last winter, I bought like a bunch of sweaters for him on clearance, I will say, but I kind of guessed as to what size he would be this winter, and he didn't end up fitting into them. They were too big on him. Hopefully I can use them for next year, but I think, sometimes you try to buy like off season or you see something cute that you think they'll fit into eventually, but I've just tried to cut back a lot when it comes to baby clothes or kids clothes because it can get out of hand easily. There are so many cute options out there, and I just try to keep it a little bit more minimal. Okay, the last thing that I no longer buy are cotton pads. I was just buying cotton pads and using them in my skincare routine because I thought I had to. I thought I had to use them with micellar water. I thought I had to use them to apply like certain products, but I really didn't have to. And I didn't know that until one of you actually left a suggestion recommending that I apply my liquid BHA with my hands. And I did that and it made such a difference. First of all, I feel like the product goes on better. Second of all, I use so much less product when a cotton pad isn't soaking up half of it. So after doing that, I just started using my hands to apply a lot of products I would use a cotton pad for. And if it comes to like a makeup remover, I'll just use a washcloth and dump like the micellar water directly on the washcloth rather than a cotton pad. There are reusable cotton pads out there. There are more sustainable options, which is really nice to see. But I think I was just actually able to cut cotton pads out of my skincare routine completely. And it was nice. I feel like, for me personally, I didn't miss them at all when I stopped using them. So that's just kind of like a little change, but it just goes to show like sometimes you use products and you purchase products, not even realizing that you don't necessarily need them. They're just part of your routine. So for me, I've tried to make some more mindful decisions lately. And like as I'm using something or purchasing something at the store, I'm like, do I really need to buy this? And if not, I skip it. And if you miss it, you can always go back to it. But I feel like cotton pads for me are just like a little example of something I don't even miss now that I don't have them. So that's everything I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I would love to know if there are any products or categories you no longer buy. Feel free to share them in the comments below. I think it would be really interesting to read them, maybe get some inspiration. Thanks again to Audible for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget that new members can try Audible free for 30 days. I'll put the information in the description box below, but you can visit audible.com/AndreaM or text Andrea M to 500 500. So thanks again for watching today's video. I'll see you very soon with a new one. Bye.